Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another glorious episode of Silo by Story Archives. I'm your host, Mario Busto, alongside
Zachary Newton, the other host. Welcome back.
We're back with our deep dive. We're recording this one right after our instant reaction because you can see our shirts are the same.
Yeah,
we do wash. We do wash our clothes, but this one we're recording back to back. Zach, I'm not ready to concede yet, although plenty of YouTube commenters and emailers have very humbly let me know that there may be another occupant in Silo 17. But I'm a stubborn man, and I will take my bet to the end, to the back of Solo's head, his bloodied head that seems to have been beaten in with a pipe. Now, my hope is that Solo is faking this injury so that he has kind of like insurance, right? Like, hey, if she comes up, I can say I was hit over the head. If she doesn't come up, then whatever, I'll find out and I can just go back out. But I think more than likely it's looking like I lost this bet, I'll be honest with you. Although it is kind of corny that somebody has just jumped out of nowhere in this silo after 7 episodes.
Out of nowhere, though? I mean, like, we've been seeing those shots peppered in throughout the entire season.
Dude, one episode. There was one shot between a railing.
Multiple episodes. When we focused on on her in Silo 17, we got this shot where it felt like somebody was back there hiding in the shadows, lying in wait. Waiting for what? I don't know. I mean, maybe they're excited that, we're clearing a few floors, but...
So this person, they want us to believe this person has existed within this silo for as long as Solo's been in the vault.
Yeah. That, or maybe this is somebody else who entered the silo. Maybe there's another silo where people are walking over the hill.
I don't know. I guess we'll find out in episode 8.
I don't think I could give Solo enough credit to bash himself in the head, bleed out, cut her rope.
Oh, he didn't bleed out.
Well, I mean, he bled. Yeah, he obviously didn't bleed. He's not dead that we know of. I just can't see him doing that.
So it's going to be some character related to that rebellion, right? I mean, we know Solo killed 2 people.
At least.
Or we think he killed 2 people at least. So perhaps this is somebody related to or knew the people the 2 dead corpses that were in the entrance to the vault. Maybe it's one of them. Or maybe Solo didn't kill anybody and he dragged like 2 bodies in there to make him look more intimidating and lied about it. I mean, after all, he isn't even Solo. So
maybe Solo is the guy that hit Solo.
Maybe he's schizophrenic.
Maybe it's the real guy.
Oh, the real Solo? Oh, my bad. I thought you were saying like he might be schizophrenic or something and like...
No, I wasn't thinking that deep. No, I was thinking like the identity that it seems like he's stolen. Maybe the real living person is out there and he's got some vendetta because he stole his girl or something like that.
So that would mean that now somebody else is in the vault with him, right?
Also a possibility. We did talk about there potentially being somebody in the vault. So there's 2 things kind of in my favor right now. There's the potential for somebody in the vault, and there's the fact that it looks like this guy just got beaten in the head with a stick. So... yeah, I'm kind of like that. I mean, there's some pretty cozy quarters in there to not share with another person.
Do you think the person that hit him across the head was already in the vault?
No, I don't think so. Because, I mean, it seems very clear you can get out of the vault pretty easily. Solo's always been terrified of leaving the vault unlocked. Right, like I think we were...
Maybe because he didn't want someone to escape.
I think it was more so that he didn't want somebody to get in.
Maybe he has like some situation in there like Buffalo Bill or... You ever seen the movie Room where the guy kidnaps a girl and she has it's kind of a dark-ass movie, but he kidnaps a girl and like has her in there and it's called Room?
I don't know.
You ever seen it? Maybe Solo's like a freaking monster and we have no idea. Could be. But why would somebody hit him over the head to take him back to the vault? Other than wanting... It has to be somebody who wasn't in the vault to begin with.
Well...
Wanted to get in there and needed the passcode.
Exactly. That's where I was going to go. They probably didn't purely knock him out. They probably stunned him, drug him up to the vault, and are threatening him to open up the vault. Like, that would be my best guess.
I would love to know how many years this person's been lurking in there, because this person probably is as weird as Solo. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
Unless I flirted with this idea in the instant reaction. We did see the diagram of the silo, and there are 2 tunnels that sort of jut out in 2 areas of the silo. One is at the bottom that we have seen before, or had an idea that there was a door at the bottom. The other is in IT. And considering that vault goes way deeper than we initially realized with that big-ass library that Bernard shows Lucas in this episode, and I'm sure that there's more, right? Because there's something else going on in IT, which is their power source is not connected to the rest of the silo, which we already knew because of Solo. And we now know again because Knox and Shirley turn off the generator in this episode, and everybody realizes, like, wait a minute, IT didn't shut off. And so Bernard had to go on his lying propaganda spree and say his 2 lies, which one is that Mechanical left the power on and that they divide the power to where it goes in the silo, which I think half of that is true. But the lie is that his power source comes from a completely different source. And then the second lie is that Billings is being held hostage in Mechanical. So it would seem to me that his play here is that he needs to get Billings back, or he needs to kill Billings and blame it on Mechanical once again. But the problem with that situation is, unlike his scenario with Martha and McLean, where let's see if he can turn Martha as a double agent, right?
Yeah.
That would be his only hope here, is that he could turn Martha into a double agent, which I don't think is going to work. What we talked about last episode was it was very key for Billings' wife and for Pete Nichols to be down there already. So now there's really nobody left for Billings that can be used against him and as a bargaining chip or as like some sort of blackmail. Unlike with Sims, who essentially his wife is the only chess piece that Bernard can use against him at this moment.
Yeah.
But I think Bernard also needs to be careful, because that could be the piece that makes Sims completely snap and go full on mutiny on him.
Well, I mean, his wife, yes, but also his kid. Like that's
something's
also
up
on
with
the
this
table.
kid, man. Something's up with this kid. I don't know what it is, but there's something up with the kid.
Yeah, I after watching this episode, I kind of felt like it was the kid that was going to be used as leverage against Sims. Because like there was just like this odd focus on like
there's a secret
him
about
and
the
the
kid.
dynamic, going on.
There's a secret about the kid that we don't know about. I don't know what it is. I don't know if he has
the syndrome.
I don't know if he has the syndrome or another sort of ailment that is not allowed in the silo. But it seems to me the silo is ruthless about who they allow to have children.
Yeah.
So in other words, it's kind of like Hitler's effed up Aryan race situation, where you want to have the most powerful, people mating to create like a super race type of thing. I would assume the silos kind of run like that if you think about it, because they choose who can. They seem to choose people who don't have a history of rebelling.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's something about the kid.Maybe Camille. Somebody floated an idea out there that she could be a flame keeper.
Yeah, you did.
Was it me? I thought it was a commenter.
I swear it was you.
I thought I want to give that credit to a commenter, but hey, maybe it was me. I'll wait for my flowers if I'm right. I don't know. All right, I said a lot there.
I don't.
Your turn.
Yeah, I don't think the kid is a secret. I do think there's some secret that he has. I think you're right. Like, I don't think it's a syndrome. It's got to be something else that we just don't know yet. I was thinking like maybe it was somebody else's kid, perhaps. I think while it is true, like the silo does really control who breeds with who, they do it to try and breed a bunch of sheeple. It's just a bunch of people that are not going to rebel. So it's almost the opposite of what you were saying earlier. We don't want supreme beings or really powerful beings. We want very submissive individuals, and we discourage any relationships from people who, I don't know, might stand up for themselves. So,
well, I think Sims is a very submissive individual. And I think that Bernard probably should have made him his shadow, and everything would have been okay.
Well, there would have been a lot less of this infighting within the, I guess, judicial branch and IT and everything else going on, which might have helped. I still think Judge Meadows' plan was the most intelligent, and I think we're just going to continue to see Bernard unravel personally, and also just see his plan continue to unravel. It's going to fall apart more than it has now. He has nobody on his side but a guy that his only option is to help Bernard, which is, I guess, a pretty strong, reason to help Bernard. You don't want to get sent back to the mines, but you got no judge, you've got no sheriff, you got nobody else.
I think we're in for a crazy last 3 episodes, because one of the defining characteristics about Silo Season 1 is that it was ruthless, right? There was no plot armor for anybody. Everybody was dying left and right in Silo Season 1.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling Bernard's time as ruling over this silo is done. I think he already lost. It's a ticking time bomb now, and now he's just trying to find out Quinn's code before it's too late. And then lastly, I think we could be heading towards a scenario where either Sims is in charge of the silo or Lucas by the end of this season.
See,
But I don't think Bernard's making it out alive out of this season.
No, I think you and I, maybe I'm making this up in my head because I'm thinking it now, but I thought earlier when we were talking, yes, we both thought Bernard would have a redemption moment, but that he wouldn't live long past that. Like, it probably would have been a part of some sacrificial thing that he does. And I think that that's still very, very plausible. I do think he'll have a redemption moment. I do think he'll die immediately after, but I just don't see Lucas taking over. I think Lucas is on the way out too. I think he dies.
Lucas possibly dies as well.
So if I had to put my money on anything here, I would say Bernard dies, Lucas dies, Sims takes over, and then
or Bernard dies, Sims manages to kill him. Lucas escapes down to mechanical. Juliette comes back. My theory is that they all go to Silo 17. Is my guess. Anybody from mechanical, I think they pretty much leave 18 and go to 17.
Lucas escaping is a good option as well. I could see that happening. I just don't think he's going to take control of this island. I think that will be Sims, and I think Juliette will come back or Camille around that point,
or Camille. So here's my thought process. Somebody has to survive with the knowledge of Quinn's code. Somebody. It's not going to be Bernard. It has to be Lucas, probably.
Yeah.
And that will be Bernard saving, like his redemption moment will be that Lucas is going to be like the promised king. You know what I mean? Like he's going to come back and eventually rule over a silo, but it ain't going to be 18. Sims is not going to allow that. So we'll see what happens there. With that, it is interesting to me because Lucas is essentially a freaking genius. Bernard has to bring him in to, crack this code. It seems Bernard's incapable of doing it. So, I mean, it feels like he's in this library for like half a day and breaks this code.
I don't think Bernard's incapable of doing it. I think there's a few things going on. Like, one, he probably doesn't want to spend the time doing that because any time he spends trying to crack this code is time that he's not trying to pull all of the levers in the silo, which would be very problematic given the rapid pace that everything is progressing at. But also, again, like he knows Lucas is very intelligent, which makes him powerful, which makes him dangerous. And so he's got to keep him close. And I mean, okay, cool. Give him some homework, give him something to do, and give him the prize of not being sent back to the mines. Like, that's pretty damn convincing.
Could Lucas go to the dark side, you think?
I don't think so.
It's very hard. It's hard for me to imagine.
He's very quickly gone from my least favorite character in the show to one of the most interesting right this second of the season for me.
There's no evil bone in his body.
No, it doesn't look like anything that comes out of Lucas that's evil. I think is purely accidental. Like I can't see him doing anything bad or making any really immoral decisions. I do think he's going to do what's best for him when and where possible, but I don't think he'll do that at the detriment of his morality. I can't see that happening.
Yeah, I can't see it either. I can't. And honestly, I don't even see him as a leader, to be honest with you. So I take back what I said about him being like some sort of, Simba.
He'll be a messenger.
I think he's just a pure scientist, bro. I think he's just like a pure, Tesla type of guy who just sees things, discovers things. Like he's gonna be somebody who just makes breakthroughs in terms of research and discovery. I think the leader there really is probably Knox.
Yeah, Knox, but I feel like Knox would be replaced with Juliette. Though I did make a comment early in the season. I don't see her as a leader.
She's not a leader.
So maybe he's more of an advisor. Granted, she was the sheriff. I mean,
Juliette's
for a short period of time.
Yeah, but she was horrible.
Yeah, she was horrible.
Billings is a leader. I could see Billings being in charge of of place, or like Juliette's like Daryl from The Walking Dead. Think about it. Like she wasn't even the main character at the start of the show, and then she becomes kind of the main character. The main character was Sheriff Holston. It becomes Juliette when she is named as the replacement.
Yeah. Yeah, but, I mean, I don't think the show is as centered around her as, we think it might be sometimes. Yeah.
Billings is awesome, by the way. Like, Billings currently is probably my favorite character in the show.
I do love Billings.
He's a great character. He's a great actor.
Yeah.
He can switch it up on you. Knox is terrific as well. I think Shirley might be a little bit, I just don't see any depth to Shirley's character yet in the show.
I don't see a ton of depth to Knox's character in the show, though. Like Knox,
to
Knox
me,
feels one note, almost like Sims does.
No, I don't, because I used to think he was one note until he pulled Shirley aside and essentially said secretly, "I'm on your side." And up until then, I thought he was a one note type of character. But then he has a good moment in this episode where they find out that Maeve poisoned people.
Mm-hmm.
And what does he do? Like, he does like this epic kind of wartime leader speech where he says, we're gonna give you a dirty job, we're gonna give you like a tough job, we're gonna give you some shit, and then we're gonna remind you who you are. Like, that's a great kind of leader speech right there. Yeah. Right? So does that hold up? What happens with Knox? Does he have a secret agenda? I don't know. The dude who's in the wheelchair, I think his name is Mark. I saw it in the subtitles. Maybe you can look it up on IMDb. I think it was like Mark or something like that. He kind of looks like he could be Knox's brother. So I felt like that might be some sort of backstory there as well. But it could be completely wrong, and it may not be his brother, because it doesn't seem like anybody has siblings in the damn silo.
It's funny that you say that, though, because when I was watching this episode, I thought that they were brothers for a moment. Like, I was trying to remember, like, who's this guy? And I'm like, are they brothers? Are they related?
It feels very much like they're brothers. Yeah. And that Knox has him almost kind of hidden down there. So I don't know. Well,
regardless,
Knox could die too, by the way. He could sacrifice himself to save Shirley. I could see that happening.
Yeah, he could. Okay, so to me, Knox and Shirley, they kind of just feel like...
They die together?
Yeah, like they feel like not super... Maybe.
R.I.P.
I know. This is like the most...
That's like the moment
saddest moment of the show. Man,
I hated the next season. Oh my god, I hated the next season so much.
But yeah, no, Knox and Shirley, I could totally see dying together. Honestly, now that you say that, they feel like side characters to me. Like
they are.
It feels like a side quest. Like a lot of what I see with them just feels like a side quest. If you're playing like a video game, and I don't think they're gonna make it out of that. They're
the mechanical guild that you go and do a bunch of side quests for and complete the story and go back to the main story.
I think Billings is a guy that once he's, I guess, proven himself to not be against the Down Deep, to really be a man of justice. I feel like he's a guy that a lot of people, everybody can get behind. I feel like he's a guy that Juliette could probably get behind. And if I had to guess, like I could see Billings leading. So all right, so here's I guess the more grand like prediction of things I have. It's going to be Bernard dies, which we talked about. Lucas escapes. Sims takes over. Billings ends up leading the Down Deep, not Knox. I'm not going to say Knox is going to die.
I think Sims stays as judge. His wife takes over as IT. I think that probably is what happens. All right, go ahead.
One of them at the very least. But I do think Billings is going to lead the Down Deep, not Knox, not Shirley. I think they're more of like the deputy type. And then I see Juliette and Lucas less of leaders and more of innovators, right? So I feel like they're going to be the two that are trying to push and solve for the truth. So they're, I mean, you got like the engineer and the scientist, but then you've got Billings, at the helm of everything. That's what it feels like this show's shaping up to be for me.
I think Juliette returns in episode 9 back to Silo 18. I think it becomes like a rumor in some sense. I think Bernard's going to get the upper hand on them and maybe kind of full bull rush them with all the firepower that they have to pretty much take them out. By the way, in this episode, I thought maybe you could have been right on 2 things. But you definitely were not right on one of them because this was requested after the fact and not before. Remember we talked about like what did Knox request from Mark, the guy in the blacksmith shop? He did request gunpowder to make that missile that shot up the notes. Yeah. But it came after the weapons. And that was a plan that seems to have been hatched after the stuff that went down with Meadows. So, because they needed to, on the note, they wrote, IT lied, who killed Meadows, and then what was the other thing? The power stayed on?
It was like look to IT, and that's when the lights went off. Yeah. I mean, I don't think I was right on anything as far as like what that guess may have been. The unfortunate thing is that my prediction of where the show is going does counter one of the bets that I threw out.
Wait a minute. Something just occurred to me really quick. Is Bernard such a romantic that the reason he's not cracking the code himself because he's honoring the fact that Meadows died without telling him? So in other words, he wants Lucas to find out, and he wants Lucas to deem. You know what I mean? You get where I'm going with this? That he's not going to allow himself. That would be sort of the romantic and like the poetic justice is that he dies without finding out that information. That would be it. I do think he'll find out because it seems already that curiosity has killed the cat. He's opened Pandora's box to some extent. Yeah. And he does need to know. He's going to be so tormented when he finds out. He's going to be happy to die, put it this way, that he killed Meadows when he finds out that information. I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, if he doesn't kill himself. Where were we at? Yeah, no, but I in regards to Bernard dying, I had made the bet that I thought he was going to live. You bet he was going to die. I think I flat out lost that bet now. Because I mean, my prediction is that he's going to die in this season. I just don't see him making it out. I think he has to die. He has to die, and we have to see some turning over to like the new guard, which I think is just going to be under Sims or his wife, one or the other. Like I kind of see them as like a package.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So what do you think happens with Sims and them?
Sims and Camille?
Yeah.
I mean, again, I think one of them is going to have to take over as like head of IT. Dude, Bernard's taken over every freaking position. Like he is everything but judge essentially right now. He's the mayor. He's the head of IT. I feel like he's basically he's basically the sheriff now because he's in charge of all of the other deputies. So I don't see why it couldn't be Sims that just, takes everything over, and then Camille becomes more of like, I guess, his henchman. Like she's got her ways. She knows how to do things. I still think she will kind of like pull his strings essentially. Outside of that, I can't quite picture where else they go from there other than him leading a strong front against the down deep. Like I think we're probably going to see a bit more of a rebellion than we've seen thus far. And I think it'll be because it's being pressed from the up top, not being pressed from the down deep.
Yeah, I could see what you're saying there. Like it's the 1-2 punch, right? Of the husband and wife. We do get the key quote in this episode because Sims gets pissed when he finds out Camille made a move without telling him. Yeah. Like these two are like literal little finger 1, little finger 2. situation going on here. Although Sims is kind of dim-witted in many ways, so he's kind of the muscle. It's kind of like the Hound in Arya. Okay, so we both kind of have the same ideas of where maybe the Sims and Camille storyline is going.
I think so.
It'll be interesting to see what happens, though, because we have this mysterious algorithm in the vault that we haven't talked nearly enough about, and it seems like that thing is sentient, and to some degree, which I wasn't expecting. There does seem to be some sort of sentient AI in the vault, and it's able to alert Bernard. He says there's a Delta event happening in the main chamber. So this thing is very much. I don't know if it's in charge, but
I don't think it's in charge. I mean, sentient is a good way to put it. It definitely seems very intelligent. But I think aside from knowing that the silo is 352 years old, I feel like we kind of have a little bit of hint around like the timing of everything. Like it wasn't built in like the 80s or anything like that.
Yeah.
There's definitely some futuristic tech in here. I mean, I would imagine it was probably takes place like, God, what, 50, 100 years from now?
What?
Like the technology that exists in there.
Do you think we'll ever have sentient AI? I don't think
we'll ever have sentient AI, but I think from a science fiction point of view, like,
I think
we're still a ways off from that.
I think the AI will be so intelligent that it could fool people.
Yeah.
That it's sentient. But I don't believe it'll be sentient AI.
I don't know. I mean, there's a world of very interesting and weird, scary things that could happen once you kind of close the loop on AI and you let it manipulate itself, like with all of these agents. The people are talking about building, but I don't know that it's ever really going to be to the point where it's going to, I don't know, have a true mind of its own. That I just don't see happening.
I'm interested to find out what happens going forward, because I do think that we're heading towards a mutiny here, and I do think what'll be the tipping point will be that Bernard tries to make a move on Camille to pretty much either arrest her or something to that degree. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to send Sims over the top. It seems like Sims controls a lot of power from within the silo. It seems like he has a lot of goons on his side. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. It does seem like we're heading towards Lucas figuring out this code next week. I think that's going to be something that we get in episode 8. Maybe not at the beginning of the episode. It might be the very end. Mm-hmm. I think it'll be a very heavy Juliette episode next week, if I had to guess.
We're
due a heavy Juliette episode, especially with the introduction of a potential new character. So, and the pump should be working, so the silo will be draining, and we'll see what that leads to. Who knows? Maybe there's so much that could happen, man. It's kind of nice to be in this situation in the show where there's so many different ways this can go, and none of us know what's going to happen unless you've read the book, obviously.
Yeah, right? If you have, don't comment what it is.
Yeah, you can't stop. You can't stop them. They'll do it. Anyways, let's talk a little bit about... I didn't look up page 77 of The Wizard of Oz either, by the way.
I didn't either. I don't want to.
I was very tempted to. The reason I didn't is because I felt like I would have been lying on this podcast, because I feel like I would have been able to figure out what it was or what we're heading towards, and then I didn't want to be acting, unnaturally in some sense.
It's possible. It's also possible that like what the content of that page is means absolutely nothing, and it's just like, I mean, it was just characters on that page that were used as a part of the key to the code, not like a rhyme that you needed to solve.
Okay, so rounding out the episode, we have Juliette, who now has to find out what happened to Solo. We're assuming she doesn't have the bends.
Doesn't look like
it. She has the lung capacity of a dolphin, though, apparently. Bernard is probably going to get killed in the next 2 episodes, if I had to guess, or heading towards his own death. Mm-hmm. We're going to probably get Quinn's code broken next episode. We have an interesting wrinkle going on with Martha and McLean, whether Martha would stoop so low as to turn on mechanical to save McLean is to be determined. Or maybe she'll work undercover and kind of be a double agent. Bernard thinks she's on his side and she's secretly working with Knox. Who knows? Maybe she kills Bernard. It's possible.
Maybe she kills Knox.
Possibly as well. There was that note that said to kill them in this episode, but I think that was just a psyop, so to speak. And then we have, we already talked about Juliette, mutiny. Yeah, that's pretty much covers everything that we have left. It'll be determined in the next 3 episodes.
Yeah. I am very excited to wrap up this season. It's exciting. And I'm looking forward to seasons 3 and 4, which I don't know if we mentioned, but yeah, they did get renewed for 3 and 4, which will be the final 2 seasons, I've heard. So yeah, that'll be fun. We're almost halfway through the overall story. How about that?
Yeah, man, it's been a good one. I'm glad that season 2 lived up.
Well, shall we get into a few categories before we round out the episode?
Yes, sir.
Let's do favorite character of the episode.
Favorite character. Lucas? Does Lucas get one here?
I put Lucas down on mine. Like he went from least favorite to one of the most interesting characters to me in this episode. So I feel like I just have to give it to him.
It's got to be Lucas or Bernard in this one, I think. So let's show Lucas.
Okay, cool. Lucas it is. How about favorite scene in the episode?
Lucas going into the vault.
There's literally
in the library.
I literally wrote down Lucas inside the vault. So we're on the same page. Why do I feel like we have the same line too? What's yours?
Because there was only one. It's Sims that says, "We make moves together, or not all."
Yeah, I wrote, "We move together."
Or Juliette just blowing bubbles underwater.
For the second time. My God, for somebody who just didn't even know what water really was, she's just like an Olympian.
Someone who was terrified of water. But Solo was so pathetic in this episode. Look, man.
He's been pathetic in every episode. What are you talking about?
I don't know if this has ever occurred to you, but I typically, and I'm not saying I've ever encountered someone like Solo, but do you ever find yourself in charge of a project that you didn't necessarily want to be in charge of, but nobody steps up and everybody's response is so like apathetic that you're like, fine, I'll do it. Like I will step up and make the decisions here to do this. Not because I want to, and then everyone else is like, oh, you wanted to take charge. No, it's because no one else took charge. And if you see Solo, that's exactly what happens there. It's like, I'm not going to do it. Why? Why should I risk my life? Why don't you risk your life? You're the one who's going to die, right?
Yeah.
Why me? But he's so freaking pathetic that it's like a baby. You know, she's like dealing with somebody who like, I'm a mess up. You're not a mess up, Juliette. You got to do something for me, Juliette. It's like, just shut up, man. I'll go die underwater before I got to listen to your yap as much as you're yapping.
Yeah, I kind of want to just smack him in the face half the time. He seems like a big man baby. Like, that's what he is. He's a massive man baby. He never grown up.
He reminds me of the guy from Godfather who comes in. I'm blanking on his name, but it's essentially his nephew or like his cousin, who's a famous actor in Hollywood, and he's like losing his grip, and the producer had the hots for his girl or whatever. And he comes in to ask Don Vito Corleone a favor. He's like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, Godfather. You know, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And he grabs him by the shoulders and slaps him in the face. And he goes, "You can act like a man. What's the matter with you?"
Well, he needs a role model like that inside of Silo 17. That's for sure.
Yeah. Anyways, let's round this one out.
Let's do it. Well, thank you for listening to this episode of Silo by Story Archives. You can find this anywhere you find podcasts, Apple and Spotify podcasts primarily. You can visit us on YouTube at Soapbox Podcast Network. Visit our website at soapbox.house. Email us at contact@soapbox.house. And if you want links to some of our social accounts, you'll find them on our website. So be sure to check it out.
And Happy New Year. We will see you in 2025.
Oh, I'm going to have to get used to saying that.
Yeah, I'm going to be continuing to write it wrong in my notes for a while, but yeah. All right. See you on the next one.
Peace.